Welcome back to part 2 of NoRequest's custom map for Native Instruments Control S2. We're going to go over the NHL part of the map. Uh, it starts out life essentially as the DJ Tech Tools map. So you have all of the features from the DJ Tech Tools map included here. Jog effects with jog effects preset selection. FX controls either single or chained with all the toggles in between all of that. Browsing mode, however, has changed a little bit. It is now controlled either with the encoder or the jog wheels. The left-hand side doing your tree with expand and collapse by tapping it, and then the right-hand side is your list up and down. Enter in and out of the browser and load the tracks with the same stuff. Sample deck by default is actually loop recorder now, so you have your dry wet and your gain. It's actually gain and then dry wet, and then record and play. While holding the right shift, those controls are going to delete, undo, and that will be the loop recorder size. Filter and gain knobs are the same as they were. Volume faders remain decks A and B. Even when you enter sample deck modes, they will remain for the decks A and B, so you'll have control over that at all times. By holding the left shift or the corresponding deck shift on the fly without entering sample deck mode, you do gain controls to the volume as well as the EQ controls for the either deck C or D while holding that side's shift. All the loop functions are the same as they were, so your active, set, size, and then move. While holding shift on the left, you still have DJ Deck Tools delay. And something that is exclusive to this map is going to be the key jumps. By holding shift and spinning the encoder. You'll notice it's the same increment every time. I was able to make this work either in increments of 1 on the money or in what I have there, which is 1.1. Sounds better this way. I mean, from my experience, messing with the key at all does not sound good, but this could be used musically. I remember seeing a post by Ian himself that showed a guy that had modded a analog mixer to have pitch controls in it and kind of used it in a musical way. I feel like the right person that came across the right track could use this. You could be scratching on the fly and changing your key. I think that's got a lot of potential for somebody to use in the mix, either it's part of a build-up or part of just changing the sound, and giving you a variety. It's I think a pretty trick setup there. So now we have to bear with me while we enter sample deck mode, because obviously I'm recording this with a handheld device. It's getting a little tricky because you need to hold the left shift and then press the corresponding sample deck buttons to enter those modes. So I'm going to do so now. You can see you have LED feedback to let you know you are now controlling sample decks. You now gain controls to the EQs. The volume fader is still going to be on the tempo fader. This is still going to be deck A. The FX controls, the knobs now become individual slot volume. And the buttons now become individual slot assignment. So button 1 will give us control over sample deck 1. By pressing play, we've now loaded that deck, and that play button will be the same toggle as it was with the regular sample mode, no shift held. Q then will be the stop in the unload, or known as play secondary through Traktor's mapping. And the sync will do a phase sync. You do have scratch transport. It's all 4 slots at the same time, so that you could use your sync to get back in time with either the master deck or the other slots, or the other sample deck slots, I should say. When in regular, not assigned to a specific deck, this is still going to function as it did, and you still have control over deck A, transport there, and again the volume and the loop move. So you can find your loop that you're, set your size, move around, find a loop, and then drop it down in the sample deck. Once you're in the sample deck, then you can gain the additional controls. So here's something I haven't showed you yet. It's what I call individual slot cue point jumping. It actually triggers the slot at either the beginning, 25% way through, halfway through, or 75% of the way through. You can see where I'm going with that. That's got a lot of potential, I feel, for the right person could really utilize that. Obviously, if your track's in time, that's going to put you to have control over 4 different cue points in a slot, and then you can jump between those slots on the fly. So right there, you could potentially have really quick access to 4, 8, 12, 16, 32 slots, being able to get there quick and knowing you're going to get right to it, because there's no trip ups really. All the map is bug free. You can come out of the mode back to regular sample deck controls by either pressing the button again while it's lit up, or the shift will also take you out. A couple other things here. We do have individual sample deck size adjustment all the way down to the 32nd, and then pressing the encoder in will reset it. And we also have individual sample deck filter. Pressing it in, turning it off, and setting it back to reset. In and out buttons control the key lock in the effects assignments, and then the cue is actually going to give you cue over that individual deck. So you get to any 4 of the decks, put the top buttons there, and your cue will let you listen to just that sample. We do have community when not in a mode. You do have community gain by default, or while holding the shift it will function as a group filter. That about sums it up. There's one catch with the loop recorder when you're in a sample deck mode. If you're in a mode, that side is the record only. You don't have the regular loop recorder controls as you would if you were just in regular sample deck mode or deck A and B mode. It was one of the bugs I couldn't work around. So for example, if you're in deck 4 slot 1 and you'd like to record, you just press the B button there. Well, out of the individual slot, you can still adjust your size and your dry wet and your delete and play. So it still gives you access to the record on the fly, which is cool, because I feel like you could really get going with juggling a slot and record that real quick. Once you did have something record, you can actually load from the slot recorder by holding the shift and the deck selection unit. So I can't make the reach. Shift, and I'm going to put it onto deck 2. So it copied from loop recorder. It automatically put us in deck 2 control. It didn't start it, but pressing play once will start the deck. So load from loop recorder, so you could make that beat, load it into an empty slot, and then continue to juggle it. filter adjustment right there. You can get real creative with that stuff. It's a lot easier to get around this with two hands. You can see I haven't had much of a hard time doing it with one hand, so that gives you an idea of how easy this map is to use. I've kept the shifts to a minimum. I mean, you really just have the regular shift button because you do have that in the NHL mode. Outside of the DJ Tech Tool stuff where you got the Enerjog effects kind of hidden, but other than that, it's pretty straightforward. With the sides, like for example, turning sample deck mode on is the left button plus these encoders, whereas the right button in these buttons here does something a little different. Again, that was loop recorder, and the right button, right shift in these are snap and quantize on and off. So that pretty much sums it up. The map is going to come with a user manual. Try to explain everything. It's pretty big, so any questions, I'm readily available. I'm always perusing DJ Tech Tools, and I do have a modern media device, so I have email on me at all times essentially. So please feel free to ask any questions you might have, and I look forward to your big spending of $5 for this map for the Traktor Kontrol S2. Thank you.